Hello there, and a very warm welcome to another edition of Channels Beam. I'm Victor Matthias. Nigerians reacted to the proposed hate speech bill, which, among other things, proposed a death penalty for those found guilty, maintaining that the bill should never have been proposed in the first place, as it is a duplication of already existing bills, let alone propose stiff sanctions for those found wanting. Though some saw the need for the bill, others questioned the contents therein and perceived it as a move to stifle free speech. Today on the program, we will examine the proposed bill as well as the reason for its need. But let's see what else got social media enthusiasts talking in the past week.
Nigerians showered praises on hip-hop artist Damini Ogulu, popularly known as Burna Boy, after his album African Giant was nominated in the Best World Music category for the 2020 Grammy Awards, alongside African great Angelique Kidjo. He joins King Sunny Ade, Babatunde Olatunji, Femi and Seun Kuti as the only Nigerians to have been nominated for the biggest music award in the world. Portuguese tactician returned to managerial duties after North London side Tottenham Hotspur fired their former manager Mauricio Pochettino. The former Chelsea and Manchester United boss signed a contract until the end of the 2022-2023 season after being out of the game for over a year.
Well, there you go. Those were the trends in the past week. Of course, congratulations to Burna Boy for this nomination. But joining us to look at today's topic, we have with us in the studio here in Lagos, Olaseni Oladejo, a public affairs analyst. Thanks for joining us on the program.
Good morning, and thank you for having me, Victor.
Of course, you're welcome. Well, we also have joining us from our Abuja studio, Andy Madaki. He is a social media commentator. So, Andy, it's a pleasure to have you as well on the program today.
Thanks for having me, Victor. Thank you.
You're welcome. Well, get this conversation started for us. I mean, there's been so much talk. First, it started with the social media bill, and then, of course, the hate speech bill also came in. But I mean, we're looking at the hate speech bill today. What are your thoughts in the first place about this bill?
Okay, thank you. Looking at the hate speech bill as proposed by the Chief Whip, I've taken my time to go through the bill over time, and what I saw is that we cannot really define what is hate speech as proposed in the bill. Someone can just wake up one day and decide that another person incited their feelings in a way that does not fit, and because the proposed bill said that as long as it can be justified that you incited their feelings. How do you define what constitutes hate speech? If we are not careful, at the end of the day, we are going to have a bill that people will be using to just say, oh, this person is my enemy. This person has said this to me in the past.
Even if the person said that, I mean, there has to be justification.
There has to be justification. Then looking at it from another angle, we already have the Cyber Crime Act of 2015. We have the social media bill that just recently passed the second reading. Why do we also need this hate speech bill?
So you think it should be all-encompassing?
Yes, it should be all-encompassing. Then most of the things proposed in the hate speech bill, I actually think is the job of the National Orientation Agency.
And not
another commission on its own.
On its own. Well, let's get to hear from Andy, who is in our Abuja studio. Andy, so much has been said on social media, even outside of the social media, about this bill. But what's your take on it? What were your thoughts when you heard about the bill being proposed in the Senate?
To be honest, my initial thought was the fact that I felt that our senators may not be doing enough to research current and existing laws which we already have in the country before proposing new bills. Like he rightly said, we have the Cybercrime Act, which is already poorly written if you go through it. And then we also have certain sections in our Terrorism Act of, I think, 2013, Section 5, which covers pretty much most of what the social media bill and also this hate speech proposal is saying. And so the truth of the matter is, speech is already highly regulated, for instance, in traditional media. So you have NBC regulating what you do. On social media, it's quite unfair because you have half of the people on social media hiding behind anonymity, and then you have some people who come as they are with their real identity. So how do you draw a line between who is a real person and who is a bot, who is a robot, or who is an anonymous person just saying hateful things? But the problem, like we have all said, is that what is the definition of hate speech? And so at what point do we draw the line between expressing our opinion to being able to criticize or oppose a government or an individual without it being seen as hate speech? And currently, we've seen several people being arrested and prosecuted using the Cybercrime Act and also using the Terrorism Act. So the problem is constantly duplicating what we already have. If the proposal says, let's amend the existing bills which we have to include some sections which most likely don't cover the internet, then that's good and fine.
Speaking of the essence, let's even hear from the man who is proposing the bill. That's in the Senate, who is proposing the bill in the Senate. Let's quickly get to hear from him, and then we can move on from there.
The main import of bringing this bill is to make sure that the issue of victims, people suffering as a result of this, is put to check. If you meet those who have lost their loved ones arising from violence due to ethnicity or religious intolerance and the like, I don't think they will be smiling with you when you tell them hate speech is nonsense. The major concern is, why do you have to say death by hanging? As far as I'm concerned, of course, when you bring a bill and it is read the first time, that is a proposal that will go through debate, a proposal that will go through public hearing. At the stage of debate, like you all know, we look at the merit, the basic principles behind the bill. Very soon, I hope to go to the chamber to debate, to lead the debate for the bill to be read the second time.
Well, there you go. That's the Senate Chief Whip, Senator Sabi Abdullahi, talking about the essence of why he is proposing that bill. So you heard him. So don't you think he has justification for proposing
Yes,
such a
he
bill?
has good points, talking about victims or family of victims in the past that have suffered from what we can call hate speech. He has points. But what I'm saying is, if we are talking about promoting unity, promoting tolerance, we already have commissions, we already have units or arms of government that are meant to deal with this. For example, like I said earlier, we have the National Orientation Agency. What we should be looking at is instilling values in our people, if we need an agency, if we need a commission before we can promote tolerance, before we can promote non-discrimination in Nigeria, then I think that there is a problem with our values. Then we need to go back to the beginning and start working on our values, not try to stifle freedom of speech. Because at the end of the day, the bill, if and when it passes through the Senate, will do more to aid politicians than it will do to support ordinary citizens.
All right, now let me go back to Andy again in Abuja. Andy, so you were asking about the essence, and from what he just talked about now, he talked about how families, who have actually had issues with, or they've suffered as a result of hate speeches, maybe via losing some of their relatives and all of that. But he also made mention of one of the concerns that people have actually raised, which is the death penalty by hanging. Of course, are you concerned as well about that? And what other amendments do you think should be made to the bill?
So first of all, death by hanging and death sentence in most parts of the world is something which is being pushed aside. The reality is most of these laws, unfortunately, are copy and paste from laws we see in China. So the excuses which we have today is that, oh, this is done in China, in the Philippines, in Singapore, and Malaysia. But how many of those administrations are democratic? The first step which I expected the Senate President to suggest was the hate speech bill and the internet falsehood bill should have been put together. And then it should be analyzed and debated as one, and then certain sections should be removed. And if you look at it, and I'm sorry to keep on going back to the internet falsehood bill, because both of them are quite similar. There's a section which says comments which may influence an election are classified as wrong. There's also another section which says comments which may seem to pretty much belittle the work of the government is punishable. So how can we criticize the government? So most of those things already stifle freedom of speech and shouldn't even be in place in there because we already have libel laws. We already have the Cybercrime Act. And like I said, the Terrorism Act specifically speaks about internet communications which aid hate speech or which could affect national security. So it's about reviewing what we already have and then suggest amendment. But the death by hanging for hate speech, that's uncalled for at this point.
All right, let me just move to Ileo Kikio, who is just joining us as of course, the conversation is going on, who is sitting just right next to you. First of all, Ileo, thanks for joining us on the program.
It's my pleasure to be here, Victor.
Of course. So a lot of water has gone under the bridge as per regards to the hate speech bill, which is being proposed in the National Assembly, the Senate to be specific. But what is your thoughts? Because people have raised concerns as to whether or not the bill, should actually have even been raised in the first place. But what do you think about it now?
Well, for me, is there a need for us to deal with hate speech? Yes. Hate speech is a problem all over the world, and governments world over are trying to solve this problem. I read recently that in France, they've come up with a new bill, to deal specifically with hate speech. And so I think that hate speech is something we should deal with. But the modalities with which we want to deal with this hate speech is what we all should talk about and agree to. For me, I'm a proponent of self-censorship. Each and every one of us should moderate what we talk about. We should moderate what we say on the internet and, of course, on social media. And is there a need for the government to put in place some measures to limit or rather reduce the spread of hate speech? Yes, but they must do it in a way that doesn't affect our fundamental human rights to freedom of speech. Because what happens is more often than not, when these laws are promulgated, it affects our basic human right to communicate, to criticize government. And of course, we've seen that in developing countries, governments use laws like this, to rein in opponents and of course the opposition party. And so we need to be very careful when we talk about raising a bill such as the hate speech bill. And like my friend said earlier on, a death sentence is something that is being removed across the world. People are fighting against it. Maybe life imprisonment, because if you say things that make people get killed, I mean, hundreds of people, thousands of people, you should get punished for it.
All right,
Maybe
let me
life
just
imprisonment or something. But I think if you notice, even in Nigeria, most governors have refused to sign the death sentence, the death warrant of prisoners who are already on death row in our correctional centers. So I think rather than put that in the bill, they can change it to life imprisonment, and then just generally look into some of those clauses in the speech, in the bill.
Quickly, so when you say we should look at some of those clauses, I mean, I believe you're talking about the way forward. So what are you looking at? What would you want to see looked at or changed or maybe amended in the proposed bill?
Well, for me, I think we should go the way of most developed countries. What they're trying to do is to censor the tech companies themselves, because, I mean, what has made hate speech so popular today is because of social media. Social media has been democratized, and so what advanced countries are doing is to speak, or rather regulate tech companies who run these social media platforms that gives opportunity to ordinary people, ordinary Nigerians, or rather people across the world, to spread whatever message it is they want to spread. So for me, I think we should look towards that area, which I don't see Nigeria doing. I've not seen Nigerians summon the head of Twitter Nigeria or Facebook and all of those companies where this message are actually spread. So for me, I think we should look towards that direction.
And that apart, what about you talked about self-censorship. So apart from doing that, where does self-censorship come in again?
Well, again, each and every one of us needs to watch whatever it is we send out online. For me, like I've always said, your right stops where another man's own begins, and so if you go online to say stuff, you should say stuff that you shouldn't say stuff that are insensitive to other ethnic groups and other religion that are not yours. Of course, when the herdsmen, or rather when the killing was quite high some time ago. I know what a lot of people said about Fulani herdsmen.
Yeah.
As if it's all Fulani herdsmen that are killing people. And so if you are not careful, you find us generalizing and just criminalizing an entire ethnic group.
All right,
so
great.
Let me
quickly hear from Andy as well what he thinks the way forward is, just as we wrap this conversation up. Andy?
So the burden should lie on the National Orientation Agency. They are not tied down like the NBC to just broadcast. So they have a role to play both on the internet and in traditional media. So it's about countering certain narratives. People still need to find somewhere where they can fact-check certain issues. And so because the internet is a free community of sorts, people go there to say whatever they want to say.
All right.
The duty of the NOA is not, of the National Orientation Agency, is to now counter certain statements and narratives which are wrong. And like he has rightly said, we had the owner of Facebook in Nigeria, was it last year or this year? We had the owner of Facebook in Nigeria just this a couple of weeks ago. They need to be held responsible to create local teams to help remove some of these sensitive materials before they spread. So once someone says something which may pass as hate speech, if it passes a certain number of free tweets.
All right, Andy, thank you very much for your thoughts, as well as Leo in our Abuja studio. Thanks, guys, for joining us on the program today. But quickly, just in a few lines, what would you think the way forward is?
Okay, like Andy and Iliowo have said, the work of the National Orientation Agency is to build unity. Most of the things proposed in this bill can actually be changed to responsibility of the National Orientation Agency. The onus falls on them to make sure that Nigerians are enlightened about things to say, what not to say, and when to say them.
Well, let's hope. I believe they've been doing that because they also have campaigns on radio and TV.
Exactly.
So, they're not just off blame just like that. But thanks for joining us again.
Thank you so much, Victor,
on the program and sharing your thoughts. And that's where we are. We'll be back with the Mosby videos on our YouTube channel in the past week. Please stay with us.
This week's most viewed videos begins with that of Senator Dino Melaye presenting an alleged video evidence at the INEC office after the Kogi West senatorial rerun election, demanding the exercise be cancelled.
The petition elaborately contained 21 video CDs, and these 21 video CDs are documentary evidence of all that happened during the election, where hoodlums assisted by either original or fake policemen went around cutting ballot boxes.
He was granted bail by the court. Yes, we said we received the court order. Now, every legislative enactment and the judicial pronouncement needs to be enforced. If Sowore was granted bail, and we said, and he was in our custody, and we said, yes, you have been granted bail. Now, do we bring Sowore at the gate and ask him to go? Is it a discharge of responsibility that we do that? People who should take Sowore through proper documentation had not come. And they didn't come, and up till now they didn't.
It is followed and forth by the video of the DSS explaining why they have not released Omoyele Sowore despite meeting his bail conditions.
Rather, what some experienced persons, people who ordinarily should be respected, came out to say was that some people came and they didn't see us.
The innovation is that what we had is what I have christened helicopter election. For the first time, rigging has been advanced to the level that now the use of helicopter in perpetrating this electoral atrocity.
Senator Melaye comes in third in a video where he alleges a helicopter was used to rig the Kogi West senatorial rerun election.
Helicopter hovering around polling units in Lokoja, dropping bullets on innocent, harmless citizens and electorate.
We want to congratulate you, members of the media here in the seat of power. You are one of the first set of reporters to meet with our brand new governor-elect, Governor David Lyon.
Second place sees APC National Chairman describing the Bayelsa State Governor-elect Mr. David Lyon as the brand new baby boy.
You know who David is. And of course, we all know what Lyon represents in the forest. So on a serious note, we went to present the governor-elect, Governor David Lyon, to President Muhammadu Buhari. As the president and our father, he has a brand new, as you can see, sparkly white baby boy.
While the most viewed video in the past week is that of the police evacuating the baby lion from a residence in the Ikoyi area of Lagos State.
And there you go. Those were the most viewed videos on our YouTube channel in the past week. However, though the social media bill, one of the bills said to have same functions as the hate speech bill, has passed second reading, Nigerians will keep an eye on this one to see how far it goes and if the concerns raised will be addressed eventually. On that note, we draw the curtains on this edition of the program, but as always, keep it going via the social media addresses showing on your screen. Thank you for watching. I'm Victor Matthias. Bye for now.